shadow.
All right. All right, everybody.
That's Eddie Arnold, boy. Go get his autograph.
Saved the Colonel's ass, son.
Yeah, I've been wondering how you got all them ducks to dance.
If it gets too hot, I got dinner.
You know, Colonel, I just signed with RCA Victor. Sure could use a good front man.
I'd have to give up the ducks. I'll tell you what. If the Colonel were to be persuaded, you drive into town, you see your face on every lamppost. Hear every drunk singing your song.
Is that right? Sounds like a deal.
All right. Here's what we're gonna do first. Hey, how are you?
Hilarious, hilarious. I'm really enjoying the show. I'm one of the privileged, that's you, there we go. I'm one of the privileged few that got to see a couple of the episodes, and it's extremely watchable. I mean, how familiar were you with the story when you first got the scripts?
Well, I was very familiar with Elvis growing up in my house because my dad played it nonstop. He still hates the Beatles because he thinks they're the reason that Elvis became successful or stopped being successful. But yeah, my dad's thing was like he called in sick to work when Elvis died for 3 days. That's how hooked into him he was, right? And when I got Mike and Molly, the second year we decided to take the parents on bucket trips, like wherever they wanted to go, anywhere in the world. My mom wanted to go to Las Vegas, and my wife's parents wanted to go to Hawaii. My dad wanted to go to Graceland. So to play Colonel Parker was kind of a cool thing for me and my dad.
And so that means you were doing a little research before you even got the role. I mean,
I just knew a lot about
yeah.
the music. I didn't know about Colonel Parker. Colonel Parker was just devious. He was devious. He was a great con man, and he started, as you saw, like barking at the carnival. He always had a scam going on, and then he wanted to get into the music business because he saw a little payola. And he started with Eddie Arnold, and then he got to Hank Snow, and then when he finally got Elvis, it was all over. But he would do anything. But the beauty of this show is it's the birth of rock and roll. Everything you're listening to right now came from this place. Memphis at that time was a hotbed for creation of rock and roll. And Sam Phillips saw, you know what, we need to stop thinking in the box of music's just this or it's just that. And it was the place that the blues collided with the church, collided with hillbilly music. And this was a time when civil rights was starting to really, really get hot. And the beauty of this place was people were crossing color lines just to create. It wasn't about how you looked. It was about what could you play, what could you bring to the table. And Sam Phillips had the vision to see that. And that's what we're all listening to today. So it's really neat to see all this.
And talking about talent, I mean, I guess some of the young cast members that you have playing these guys are actually singing in these roles.
Listen, man, this kid's 24. This kid's 26. He plays Ike Turner. Johnny Cash is 26, and Jerry Lee Lewis is like 19. Look, I couldn't run a hot dog stand at 19. These kids are so together, they blew me away, man, and their energy was what also drew me to be a part of this. They sing, they dance, they act, they're superbly talented. They honored all their roles. And I mean, you know, there's so many other artists in this. There's a gentleman who plays a young B.B. King who just crushes it. And then we had some musicians jump in with us just to do cameos. Keb Mo, who's a great blues artist, who also wrote the theme song to Mike and Molly. And so it was nice to have him there. But Drake kills Elvis, and Kevin, Johnny Cash. And then there's a really cool story, too, about Dewey Phillips, played by Keira O'Donnell, who Alan Freed was the guy who got the credit for coining the phrase rock and roll, and supposedly the first rock and roll DJ. But it was actually this guy, Dewey Phillips in Memphis, who was unafraid to play Sam's music that he was producing by these guys on the air. He was the first DJ to go, you know what, we're not playing this, we're going to play this. And he put it out in the airways first. He never really got credit for it. But there's all these beautiful storylines, and it's kind of everybody's journey to Sun Studios and what came from it.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about your research for Colonel Parker. I mean, there's some stuff out there, obviously, some accounts of his.
Well, he was so hidden,
yeah.
man. He was such a crooked guy. Like I played Mike on Mike and Molly, and he did everything right, was always kind, did everything. The Colonel will lie when the truth works. So he was a hard guy to get a read on. I got to meet 4 people that knew him. Everybody described him a different way. So what I kind of got from that was, this guy was whatever the situation took to get the green. It didn't matter. So that's kind of where we started him. And then I had to figure out what he sounded like, because there's only one tape of him, and he's very old. He's talking to Ted Koppel. So the Colonel was made up. His name was Andreas von Kalk. He was a refugee from Holland, an illegal immigrant. And that's why Elvis never toured Europe. He was afraid if he went back over there, they'd take him away, or somebody would grab Elvis if he let him go on his own. So he invented everything about himself. So since he invented this character, the Colonel, I had to kind of I figured, well, he probably had an accent too, so I kind of mixed him with the scruples of Walter White from Breaking Bad, but I kind of made him sound like Foghorn Leghorn. So it's a good evil mix, you know?
I love that. And the wardrobe, too. Tell me a little bit about dressing up.
Yeah, I look like Colonel Sanders' evil twin is who I look like. But yeah, it was so fun, man. And the city of Memphis really opened their arms to us, man. We got to go to all the actual sites that these things happened. So the city became an actual character in the show. I mean, we got to go to the black churches where Elvis would sneak in just to hear that gospel song, because that's what impacted him. And we got to go to his high school. We got to go to Sun Records. We got to go and see where B.B. King used to hang. And we got to go where, when Ike Turner and Jackie Branston came in, which was the first rock and roll record, Rocket 88. We got to go see how those guys, to record a record, it was $4.98. To record a record, right? So Jackie Branson and Ike Turner, they pull into Memphis. They don't have $4.98. So Ike Turner goes and he steals a tip jar from a waitress that he knows at this restaurant in Memphis. So they come running out of there. The owner comes running out with a shotgun. There's a shotgun blast. And they show this in the show. One of the amps falls off the back of the car. They pick it up, they jump in the car, and they take off. Well, when they get to the studio, they start recording Rocket 88, but the amp is cracked. And they don't have the money to fix it. They just have the money to do the record, and that is how Rock and Roll Distortion was born. So you get to see all these cool little things that make up the history of music. It's really neat.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It was an honor to be a part of it.
When
It's shot like a film.
Oh, it looks incredible.
Sorry, I've had 9 coffees.
It's all right. It's all good.
That's all right.
Tell me a little bit about being in Memphis. Did you go anywhere specific?
Oh, Memphis is
music that you love?
So special, man. First of all, there's barbecue every 2 feet. And for a fat man, that's a dangerous place. I swear to God, I'm surprised they don't have paramedics on every corner. I mean, they fry pickles in Memphis, you know? But there's this thing, because it was the birth of rock and roll, not just with Beale Street. There's another record company there called Stax Records, which Aretha Franklin came out of. Stax really begat Motown in Detroit. So there was these beautiful sounds, and there's something, because that was such an impact at that time, that is still in the air in Memphis. You still see young artists. I mean, we went and saw music every night. It's one of the last cities where you can be walking around and you hear music in the air. You know, we're in a world now, everybody's in their buds. You know, by the way, I bought them remote buds. You cannot walk on the wall if you, it's a joke. But you know what I mean? We're all in here now. We're not sharing that anymore. So Memphis still has a shared experience about that. You can walk and just hear different music. And there's something about that in the history of that you feel like, wow, I'm really a part of something, you know?
Yeah. And, getting to experience a different part of the country is not something you're unfamiliar with. You do stand-up still, obviously, which is where you started out before Mike and Molly.
I was a road dog. From 1987 on, I'm a stand-up comic. I'll be at the St. George Theater in Staten Island this weekend. Got to get
Borgata coming up. One of my
Got the Borgata coming up.
Yeah.
But I used to play those little gigs, and Memphis was one of my stops. There was a Holiday Inn there, and you played the lounge, man. And so you get to be a part of that tapestry of artists coming up, no matter what they were. But I always like to find the authenticity in the cities, you know, like when you go to Memphis, they say you got to go to the Rendezvous Barbecue, but that's kind of the tourist spot. You start talking to the locals and they'll get you to the real stuff. And then it works the same way with music, and it works the same way with food, and it works the same way with art. And when you get into that city, once you get to know the local scene, you start to see, wow, there's still a tradition of what made this city the place that it all happened.
I understand you have a great stand-up story. You were doing stand-up when you found out about Mike and Molly. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I was working in the basement of a strip club in Milwaukee. I was doing stand-up, and it was one of those places where there's a strip club up top and there's a comedy club on the bottom. And all the dudes that are out of money come down to watch. So you can imagine what a lovely audience that was. And I was up on stage having one of those nights where you're just like, what have I done with my life? And I got off stage, and there was a bunch of phone calls because we had shot this pilot, Mike and Molly. And I got the call that we got picked up for 12 episodes, and it changed my whole life.
And I'm sure you celebrated that night. That's
I did. Me and my brother, because I'm a degenerate, we were going to go to a casino up in Milwaukee because we thought, I got picked up. That must mean our luck's changing. So I was on my way there, and I told my wife, I said, I'm going to take $100 out of the bank account. She goes, okay, honey, congratulations. And then as we're driving, she called back. She said, don't touch the bank account. You have $7.83 left. So when I bought my house, years later on Mike and Molly, up in my bathroom mirror, I had them etch $7.83 into the corner of that mirror. Just a little reminder. Don't get ahead of yourself, you know what I mean? It could all go away just like that. So
now, in that show, you're working with the amazing Melissa McCarthy.
She's awesome.
I mean, tell me about first meeting her and doing that pilot. And
you know, when I met her, we read, and you know, you hear those stories in Hollywood, like we read it and we knew that really happened, man. And then the rest of the cast came together, and there was just this loving vibe with us all the way through. We still talk to each other. We're still dear friends. The gentleman who plays my partner, Reno Wilson, Carl the cop, me and him were on a show 10 years before, and we were on a show called Heist. And they put us on right opposite of American Idol, so you could hear the death drums beating. We weren't going to make it more than 6, but we became dear friends. Our sons are the same age. His daughter was a little older, but we have boys about the same time. And we stayed really, really close friends. And so we ended up on this show together, man. God works in mysterious ways, you know. We ended up together. That's why when we work together, that's not really acting. I mean, we finish each other's sentences. But the whole cast was like that. And there was no arrogance. There was no... You know, nobody went crazy. I think it's because we were all 40 when we hit. You know what I mean? Everybody was tired by the time we hit. We were like, we got insurance, we got free coffee and good parking. Let's just have a good time. So, in fact, Lou, who plays Vince, lives here in New York, and we hit Birdland last night, and we've been beating all over the city, man. So.
That's amazing. And, you know, being with Melissa and starring in that show while all the movie stuff was starting to pick up.
She was amazing, man. Yeah. This is another testament to her. You know, her star took off like nothing we've seen since Eddie Murphy in the 80s. That's the closest comparison I can make. And she came to work the same person every day. Humble, hardworking, kind, giving. The only thing that I used to have a heart attack about is she's insane. There's something wrong with her, okay? When she loves to do her own stunts. She's fearless. Like I'm a guy that's like, nope, get a guy. I'm gonna get some coffee and watch that guy. She likes to just strap me in. I can do it. She's crazy. And it would make the rest of us nervous when we'd have to do something on the show, like, please, you're the golden goose. Don't get hurt. Don't get hurt, you know? It's like seeing your star running back. You're like, be careful.
Is it true that she was actually pregnant when you guys did
She was pregnant? Yeah. When we did the audition, I think she was about 8 months pregnant. And she was still in there in the audition room. And, man, we both read with 2 other people, you know, 2 other Mikes and 2 other Mollys. But, man, when we read, it was like, that's our show.
And you guys still stay in touch. I mean, she's been so great as Sean Spicer on SNL.
She's killing it as Spicer. I love it. I love it. I hope she gets him every week. We stay in touch through text, and you know, she's in and out of the country with her movies and stuff. Me and Reno hang out all the time, and like I said, I'm with Lou. The whole gang talks. I talk with Katie. I just got asked to be on Katie's show, but I couldn't make it work because of schedule. So, but we're still a very tight-knit group because we kind of went through that together, and there was a family vibe there.
In talking about your stand-up, how did that experience change from, you know, getting the call for the audition to the end of Mike and Molly, where you were, you know, everybody knew you from that show and the popularity? I'm sure that must have been a different experience touring around.
The beauty for stand-up was I went in 1 year from playing 200-seat rooms to 1,500-seat rooms, and that was a gift. And I was very lucky because some stand-ups get on a show, and the show might be squeaky clean, and the stand-up might be really, really dirty. So then that audience goes and sees them like, that doesn't sound like that, man. Yeah, Bob went through that. Tim Allen went through that. I was lucky. My humor is very working class. I come from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And the rule is don't take yourself too seriously. So that working class sarcasm kind of crossed over to Mike and Molly. So my audience kind of, it fit right together. So I was very blessed that way.
That's amazing. Now, does your son, how familiar is your son with your work? Does he go to see you as stand-up? Does he
well,
watch
here's
shows?
the deal, man. I had a rule with my son early on. When he was in elementary school, and we were driving, and I had a billboard on Ventura Boulevard, and he goes, "Dad, does this mean you're famous?" So I pulled the car over and I said, "Look, man," I said, "that is just a job. That's all it ever is. Doesn't mean you're better than anybody. Doesn't mean you get special treatment. It means we live a blessed life, which means we have to give back more." That's what I've taught him. And I said, all that means is I got a good job. It's going to end. I don't know when. I hope a long time from now at the time. But I said, it's going to end. So here's the deal, man. You work hard, you get a break. That's how it works. That's it. But I am always your dad. That is just what I do. So we've kept it like that. But lately, now that he's in junior high, the theater bug has bit him. So he got a part in the school play, and then he just went out for the next one, and he got that one. So he came up to me, and he was like, "Dad, a lot of my friends are joining sports. Are you going to be mad if I just stay in the theater?" I said, "Son," I said, "wrestling just gets you busted ears." I said, "Jokes bought the house." I said, "So get in there, man. Get in there." So I'm very proud of him.
That's amazing. Now, tell me a little bit about, as far as your whole family, bringing them in. Your wife has been there through the whole thing.
My wife is an all-star, man. I could not have put this woman through more things. We've been through poverty together. We've been through childbirth. We've been through my drinking days. We've been through, fame together. This woman is, I don't deserve her. I don't deserve her. And look, man, we've been married 15 years, which is like, I think, 108 in Hollywood years. But nothing matters to me more than my wife and kid. And when you have a solid base at home like that, then all this stuff that we're doing, this is all great, but this is going to end, and this isn't real. So the fact that I've had this person with me on this journey who gave me this beautiful child, when this is done, I have that. I have that. And as long as that defines me and this doesn't, this just stays fun. You start getting wrapped up into, I'm on TV, you're done for, man. That's when you start buying tigers and diamond pianos, and then when it's over, you're like, why don't we have nothing? Well, you got to think, man, what's the priority?
And I hear you have a great story about how you met her.
My wife? Yeah, I met my wife in a cool way. I saw her 3 times in one day. I was an unknown comic, and I had to go to the bank with my manager, because he had money, I didn't. That's how the manager thing works. But she was in the bank, and I just kind of noticed her, and she's pretty, and I smiled. And then I went to the comedy club, and that night she was there with her sister. They were in line. There's always a line to the ladies' room, right? So I walked by, and I saw her, and I said, that's the same girl. So then I went to a jazz club, because I think I'm one of the last 12 jazz fans on earth. And she was there. So I figured 3 times in one day, you got to take a shot, right? So I went to the bartender, and I said, hey, what's that girl drinking right over there? And he gave me one, and I took it over to her table, and I said, hi, I'm Billy. Drink this till I'm cute. Which I thought was a really good line, right? But she looked at me, she goes, I'm going to need another one.
That's so good. That's so good.
Yeah, man.
Now, Mike and Molly, I want to. Now, do fans still come up to you? Because it's still playing constantly on FX.
Fans, the Mike and Molly fans,
Yeah.
God bless them. They still come out to all my stand-up, but they're very angry that the show went away.
A lot of people are upset
I think they're
about that
madder than I
year.
am.
Yeah.
Because I love the show and it changed my life, but I think there was a lot of heartbroken fans. They're so sweet in their comments and their support of us. But nowadays, if you get a show to go more than 3 years. It's amazing. And we went 6 years, and the networks got it into syndication. They said, okay, that's going to be that. But you can't be bitter about that. I mean, it changed everybody's life. It changed everybody's life for the better. It was a giant blessing, so you can't start stomping and feeling, I only got 6 years on TV. Man, you can't be that.
I'm sure you have a lot of cops that come up to you and talk to you about
a lot of the Chicago cops. The Chicago cops show us a lot of love, and the cops will come up and give us patches. Me and Reno, they send us patches and stuff, and they buy us breakfast, which is weird. It's like we didn't do anything dangerous. We were just pretending. But thank you for the eggs, But yeah, they were really nice, man. And like I said, the fans, have just been, they were so loyal all the way through. And I still get to see them when I do my stand-up, so that's nice. St. George Theater, Staten Island, Saturday night.
This weekend, here we go.
Shameless.
Yeah, there we
Shameless.
Go. Keep it going, man. Keep it going. I'm sure you can get out some speeding tickets with that.
I don't know. I haven't tried it. You know what's funny? You know what they did give me back in my hometown? There's the FOP, the Fraternal Order of Police.
I've heard about that.
And I got a gold card membership as an honorary member with all privileges. They presented it to me, right? And I'm thinking, that's nice. But where were you when I was 19? I don't need a get out of jail free card now. You know what I mean? I needed that when I was 19. But I'm honored by all the love that they've given us.
And like you talked about with the fans of Mike and Molly, I'm sure anybody would be happy to get another season. Have you ever thought about, you and Melissa toyed with the idea of like a Netflix return or something?
I hope they'll do that. I hope eventually Netflix will pick it up. I don't know. I hope they do. We're in syndication, so it'll be after that. But we want it to stay in syndication as long as possible because then you're in that fraternity of people's dinner time show or their late night show. You know what I mean? That's rare air. That's like Cheers and Friends. When you get into that, hey, we watch you during dinner, that's a big deal. That's like getting in the Hall of Fame. So I hope it runs for as long as it can. I would have gone back and done it for 10 years. I think Melissa would have too. But, you know, we just got to be grateful. You can't cry about that and be thankful for what we got.
And then getting back to Sun Records, I mean, tell me a little bit about what people can expect down as the season progresses.
This is great.
Yeah.
You young people are going to like it because it's rock and roll and it's sexy. And these kids are all pretty handsome. They're easy on the eyes, these boys. And but they're so super talented, too. But just the story of how all these things happened to give us rock and roll. Sam Phillips really had the vision to go, I don't care who you are, what you look like, I want to hear what you can do. And that's actually a message that I think could resonate today. We need a little more of that today because apparently some of us have forgotten. So I think it's a good reminder and it's a poignant show. And it's that special thing where when you let go of what you think your life is supposed to be to try to follow your dream, what could happen. And I think it's going to be an inspirational show. It's really shot beautifully. It's shot like a movie. It was done by Roland Joffe, who directed The Mission and The Killing Fields. This is like an 8-hour movie they chopped into 8 parts. Gil Grant, who was a producer on 24 and NCIS, penned a beautiful script based on the $1 Million Quartet. And Leslie Grafe, who's just a powerhouse producer, pushed this thing through. And I got to give credit to CMT, because they really pulled out all the stops, man. They were the perfect music channel outlet for us to do this, and they really want this thing to sail. And I think you can see the push that was behind it. And I love these kids. So I feel like the old guy on set now. I'm like Bull Durham down there. Like, yeah, we use clean balls even during practice on the set. And that's who I am to these guys. But they've been very loving.
I can't wait for people to see it.
Yeah, man,
now, there's
thanks.
some questions out there in the audience, right?
Sure.
Hey, Billy, how's it going?
Hey, man.
I appreciate you coming out here, and I definitely can't wait to check out the show.
Thanks, man.
So getting to work on this, like, has it given you a new appreciation for the type of music that was available back then?
Yeah, I got to learn. I got to hear some stuff that I hadn't heard before, and I was pretty familiar with this era of music. I'm a very eclectic music guy. I still have records in my house, which for you millennials, go home and Google record. That's
vinyl.
Like a vinyl thing you put on a needle. But I like anything. I like jazz. I like classic rock. I like rap. I like anything that moves me forward. Anything that opens my mind a little more. I don't like angry music. That's, you can't, like any of this stuff, you couldn't do a drive-by to this music. You know what I mean? You can't be angry and go do a drive-by at the same time. So this music really was inspirational, and getting to hear the roots of it was really, really cool. Like how they came up with the sounds, how they wrote the bridges, how these artists conveyed that emotion, So, yeah, I learned a lot about this that I didn't know, and I thought I had a pretty good knowledge of this stuff.
Nice. Next question.
Hey,
Hey, man.
I know you're from Pittsburgh originally. Do you get to go back there, and do you like?
Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Is that your question?
Yeah. Are you? Do you get to go back and like go to games and hang out?
Oh, I'm a
Steelers
lunatic.
games?
Yeah, I'm not one of them celebrities like, well, we're at the game. We just hope it's a good game, and I hope whoever wins. No, I'm a diehard black and gold Steeler fan. And we had a great year this year until we ran into that buzzsaw up in New England. Didn't even look like we practiced. But, yeah, man, I try to get home to my hometown at least a couple times a year because, like I said, my humor is based in working class, man. The way those guys in the steel mills, my dad and the way his buddies got through work was you can't take yourself too seriously, and that's where my humor comes from. And so I go back there to kind of plug into that at least twice a year. Once with a boys' trip with my buddies, and we go back to the Steelers, and then over the summer I take my family home. They have a 100-year-old amusement park in Pittsburgh, and they still got wooden roller coasters that you might die on. So it's kind of fun to just go back
Extra
in and
thrilling.
do all that. Kennywood, yeah, exactly.
And one last question, right?
Yeah, man.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
And also, I have to say that I am probably also one of the 12 Last Jazz
Right on,
fans. So
right on. I love that.
Nice to meet you.
Spread the word, brother.
yeah.
Spread the word. Get the
So,
word in the street.
So I was wondering, if we were in a karaoke bar right now,
Yeah.
and someone said that you had to sing an Elvis song,
Oof.
what Elvis song would it be?
Well, I don't sing or dance. That's why I tell jokes. But if I had to butcher one, it would probably be, maybe I'd do something fun that you could, even if you messed up, it wouldn't be bad. I'd do Viva Las Vegas. You know what I mean? Something cheesy. Or something, maybe Bossa Nova Baby, just to be cheesy. Because if you're being cheesy, you know, nobody thinks you're trying to sing.
Well, guys, check out Sun Records
Sun
on
Records.
CMT. Tomorrow premieres.
Yes, 10
and,
p.m.
And Billy on tour.
Yes.
Check them out on stand-up.
Absolutely.
There we go. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for your time. Thank you, guys.